Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In the last video, we discussed about what exactly I am gonna cover in this particular series. From this video onwards, we will start covering those topics one by one, and I'll try to explain each and every topic in depth with some practical examples. So, if you remember in the last video, I was majorly focusing on the architecture side. Like if you wanted to understand and if you wanted to perform your testing like properly, right? The ETL testing with by covering all the aspects, you need to understand your architecture. Okay. So today we will cover few of the architectures which are being followed in multiple companies. I'll not talk about the company names, right? But I'll try to explain you those architectures which are basically in use right now. So in okay, and it depends on use case to use case actually, right? So I will try to segregate based on some use cases, but on a very high level, I will split these architectures into two categories. The first one is here normal architecture. Why I'm saying normal architecture, or you can say data warehouse architecture. Okay, so this data warehouse architecture, what generally happen is, right? So the company, in most of the cases, right, they generally have some web applications, or they might be receiving some kind of data from their source systems which are in structured format, and they are very less. Like the size of data is very less. Okay, so if you see these three combinations, right, generally these kind of data sets. And when I'm talking of the web application, it's a normal application. We are not getting the data so frequently. It's not a IoT device or something. Okay, just think about a normal web application where customer will go do something and come back. So we are recording their transaction or their details. Okay, so these type of data they can store into the table, and now they wanted to use this data for their analytics purpose. So what they will do, they will generally process this data somewhere in one or in few tables inside your data warehouse system. In the data warehouse system, they can call these tables name as stage. Okay, so in the stage table, all the data will be pushed. Let's say account related data, finance related data, or maybe customer related data, sales related data, purchase related data. For everything, there will be so many tables as and when required based on the business. Now, once the stage data is there, now when we are saying stage data, here the data is as is. There is no change in the data. It's just that it is being dumped into different tables to keep everything in a single place. Now, this data will be used, or some calculations will be done, or some SQL queries will be used, or maybe some you can say some store procs created, right? And they will transform this data and create a data warehouse, okay, where the data will be stored in two different types. One is dimension and the second one is fact. So we'll talk about what is dimension table, what is fact table. No worries. But just try to understand. Once the stage data is done, based on the stage data, they are doing some calculation and they are giving you a one dimension table. Not one, like they are giving you dimension tables and the fact tables. What are these tables? Why they are used? Why we need to create? We'll talk about it. But we are segregating this data into dimensions and fact. Once the data set is ready, now they generally use this data for their analytics, for their reporting, right? Now for reporting, they can use Power BI or ClickSense or different type of tools, whatever they need. So this is a normal architecture or data warehouse architecture. We are not, I mean, like where the data size is very less and no, there is no much calculations on top of it, to be very honest. Okay. In few of the organizations, you will see this particular architecture, okay, is more simplified. Okay, what they will do, I'll say it's a part A of first, because they will simply remove the stage. What they will say, since they don't need so many calculations, they will simply say, okay, we have only one web application from where the data is coming, so let's dump this application data into data warehouse in form of dimensions and fact, or maybe normal table even, and then use that table for reporting. Simple, nothing is there. Or they can extend this architecture by creating the data marts on top of it. So when I say data marts on top of it, is how basically they do, they basically use this data, let's say your source system data, okay. Now this source system data will be pushed to the stage layer. This data then will be moved to data warehouse, and then from data warehouse, based on the different you can say different departments or different businesses for the customer, right, they will segregate the data based on different departments or based on different type of businesses in form of data marts. So in few of the projects you will see data marts concept as well. So data mart is like, they are, it's a subset of data warehouse basically. Based on the department, they will create different data marts. So one data warehouse can have multiple data marts based on the department, based on the like based on whatever their business is, okay, their modules is. You can have multiple data marts, and against these data marts, they can create a report. Okay, they can develop reports using any of the two. Now in few of the applications, right, they can, if they are complex, right, what they generally do is they put some intermediate layer as well in between. So it depends on project to project, but this is the simplest architecture which is being followed for less amount of data, for structured data, for you can say without much calculations you can think of. Okay, and these are small as I mean, like these are slow as compared to the modern data warehouse or the big data architectures. Now the second type of architecture is a very famous, and I mean, like you can say most of the organizations are using it, okay, which is called Medallion architecture. Now what is Medallion architecture? So Medallion architecture will give you the flexibility to deal with basically different type of data sets. Sorry, let me just delete this. Somehow it is still pending. It is the, okay, my bad. Okay, so in the Medallion architecture, what happens is we can have multiple source systems, right? Maybe you can are getting some structured data, some unstructured data, some semi-structured data. You will have multiple source systems in form of file, in form of tables, in form of, you can say, unstructured data files, maybe JSON you can think of, or XML. Here you can think of CSV, sorry, tables, maybe you can think of Oracle or SQL. Here you can think of CSV, normal files, right? Now this data in Medallion architecture, what they will do, they will create first layer, and this layer will be called as bronze layer. Now they will ingest this data as is, I'm saying they will ingest the data as is, not file. Remember, they are not directly copying the files here. They are ingesting the data as is in different formats. What could be the format? Maybe Parquet or maybe Delta. Okay, they will store the data into Delta format or Parquet format. But again, majorly the data will be stored in Delta format. There are different reasons for it. Like Delta provides different type of optimizations on top of data, which is very helpful when you are dealing with the petabytes and terabytes of data and you wanted to ingest a streaming and all different type of data sets. So let's not go in different type of data. Let's just talk what is Medallion architecture. So the first layer you can think of is bronze layer, where the data will be pushed as it is. Once it is done, now the next layer comes into the picture, which is called silver layer. Now in this layer, generally as a data engineers, right, we perform couple of operations. Like we do all the data cleansing here. So basically data will be cleaned here. Okay, you can standardize the data. You can derive few of new columns if it is required. You can enrich your data sets by doing some combinations, right? You can perform normalizations here. So there are different operations which you generally do at this moment. Okay, we'll go in detail about these layers in some time, but I'm just trying to explain you what all different layers are present in this architecture. So once the data is loaded in the silver layer from the bronze, after this, again, it is in the delta format. If you are using here delta, generally we use delta format here as well. And after this, we generally create our gold layer. And in the gold layer, we generally create business related tables. Okay, you can think of again here dimensions and fact tables. They can also be stored as a form of delta. Sometimes we create a view, sometimes we store it somewhere else, right? It's up to you. If you want, now in few organizations, it entirely depends, right? They again store this data into data warehouse if they need it due to some reasons. If not, they can create a report on top of it, right? So it depends how they wanted to consume this data. We are not talking about the business here. We are just talking about the architecture. So this is how the data will flow. Now, a very important interview questions. When you try to explain this architecture, they will simply ask you, first interview question is, can we have more layers in between? Can we have more than 3 layers? Yes. You can have as many as number of layers if you want, if your data is that much complex, but you have to justify it. Got it? Now, they will ask you, why to use delta format? Why you use delta format? For this one, I will give you a link on top of this video. You can just go through it and you can learn about all the optimizations which are given with the help of delta format, which you can do with the help of delta format. And that's why we generally use delta formats. Okay. The third thing is, they will ask you, when you are doing the ingestion of all these things, right, how you are actually testing these layers. Is it automated? It is manual? If it is manual, then obviously they will not feel so because manual testing each and every layer is very tough. So you must be giving them the explanation in terms of automation. And don't worry, we'll cover this automation piece. So if they're asking you how you tested this, don't say manually, because these are mostly the notebooks which data engineers generally write. And to test these notebooks, you have to have some automation scripts in place. Okay. So that's it. I think these are the three important questions we generally get it from this particular architecture. So I hope this video will be helpful for you guys. In the next video, we'll go in each of the layers in detail and we'll try to ingest how ETL works in these layers. Thank you. Thanks for watching this video.